Caroline and Chopin. So I found this piece, Gustave Le Gray, because a student came to me a couple years ago and asked to learn it, and instantly I loved it because the Chopin in the center, this Mazurka, Opus 17, number 4, is not my personal favorite, but it's widely known as perhaps one of his most beautiful compositions, which actually is one reason why I always steered clear of it, because I'm like, I don't want to play the most beautiful Chopin composition. I can't, it's too simple, I can't do it. So I taught the piece many times because everyone, wanted to learn it, but I'd read through it, but I'd never studied it or performed it myself, ever. After 34 or 5 years, I just never did it. So I was like, okay, fine, I guess I have to learn this piece. But I realized why it's so lovely and why everyone loves it, because there's so many tiny nuances in a short, very simple peasant type of dance, he's able to add all of these stylized elements. So I understand why she chose the piece as the centerpiece and why it's so loved. But if you hear the opening, you'll hear what I mean. Just a simple swirl. And then listen to the left hand. It's so beautiful. So when I encountered it at the heart of her piece, I said, okay, I have to learn it first of all, and then I have to see how she is working with it, because it's an unusual thing to write a piece and then feature another composer in the center. I had never played a piece with this structure before, so I was very curious to see how she would work with it. So she titled the piece Gustave Le Grey, who is an important French photographer who's developing new techniques in the 1830s or 40s, the same time Chopin wrote this Mazurka. And they're beautiful. You can go online and type his name, and most of them are seascapes. So he's trying to capture the waves or the light, and it's fascinating to think in the 1830s to see these snapshots of time in such amazing, amazing detail, especially something as mercurial as waves and the light on the water. So she named the piece this, and what I love about it, outside of everything, is how she's working with the developing of time. Because when we look at a photograph, we see the finished product. But if you've ever been in a dark room and tried to develop it, you realize it's an amazingly important skill and temperamental skill to know the exact amount of time and solution and all of these. I'm talking about a one-day course I had 10 years ago, but it inspired me to think about it. So she tries to put that same amount of time in both of the development of the piece, which occurs at the center, but then also how it disintegrates afterwards, which I think therein lies the genius, because it's one thing to build up a piece, but then to disintegrate it in a satisfactory manner is an entirely different skill, completely. So she begins with a single note, which is the bass note of what the Chopin Mazurka will come, and she immediately sets up this introspective and almost timeless gesture. So we hear 3 repeated notes, and then the pain comes in with the half step, which resolves to our 3rd, which is minor, and then finally we get a major inverted B-flat triad. So already in that little microcosm is most of the harmony that we will hear in the Mazurka, but each one of those becomes little details that she uses in her building up of the Mazurka. And then she layers, and she has time where we're building more, and then she dies again. But I won't give away the piece because you have to listen to it to hear the whole story. But think what is so interesting is the use of time, because when I finish playing it, I feel completely hypnotized from these repetitive gestures, because she's building and then tearing down so gradually. And I've used the piece a few times as a type of musical intermission. So it's giving some space to the audience and giving, some sort of space to myself too, but still keeps us in the musical moment instead of walking off stage and then you're chatting and you hear sound and the real world kind of pins on you again. So she's given us a gift of 13, 14 minutes of just beautiful space.